What if the movies you love aren't just entertainment? What if they're a confession? Today, we're going to dive into this really fascinating document called the Scientific Indictment, and it makes a pretty explosive claim that Hollywood is basically a confessional for a hidden power structure. So, this document really pushes us to ask a pretty radical question. Are we just watching fiction? Or are we actually being shown the blueprints of our own reality, just hidden in plain sight? The main theory here, what the document calls the Archonic Confessional, is this idea that there's a secret practice happening in Hollywood. It's a mechanism for revealing some pretty dark truths, but it's all done under the safe cover of entertainment. And the engine driving this whole theory is something they call revelation of the method. The document describes it as this kind of twisted form of legalism. The idea is that a certain elite group believes they have to reveal their plans to us, the so-called victims, in order to get around any karmic consequences. And how do they do it? By hiding the truth right there in the fiction we consume. This quote from the source material, man, it really gets to the heart of the whole thing. It suggests that by watching these movies, by buying a ticket and just accepting it all as just a story, we're actually on some subconscious level giving our consent to the very things being shown. So how does this alleged confession actually work in the real world? Well, the document lays out several films as case files, arguing that they're not just movies, they're direct documentation of elite rituals. All right, first up, Stanley Kubrick's final, super cryptic masterpiece, Eyes Wide Shut. Now, a lot of people find this film deeply unsettling, and the indictment argues there's a very good reason for that. It's because it's not actually fiction. According to the source, this movie isn't some clever allegory. Nope, it claims the film is a direct, almost literal depiction of real-world events. It shows these masked elites in their secret ceremonies and shows the murderous power they use to silence anyone who gets a little too close. So here you can see the two ways of looking at it side by side. The public story, it's a surreal drama. But the scientific indictment basically reframes it as a documentary, a glimpse into a hidden reality. Now let's jump ahead to a much more recent film. The document argues this one isn't just a confession, it's practically an operational manual. And this is where it gets really wild. The indictment makes a bombshell claim, directly linking the 2024 film Blink Twice to the Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell scandal. I mean, the parallels it points out are incredibly specific. A billionaire, a private island, even using chemicals to wipe memories. And this just perfectly illustrates the two interpretations. While most of us see a thriller, the source says, no, what you're actually watching is a schematic, a how-to guide for running an elite honeypot operation, complete with trauma-based memory wiping. But, the indictment argues it goes even deeper than just showing us their methods. The next level of this so-called confessional is about actively mocking the very idea of justice itself. For this, the document points to the horror franchise The Black Phone as a perfect example of this mockery. It argues that the film's symbolism is a deliberate, almost sadistic act of contempt. This is such a crucial point in the source's whole argument. It's not just about showing what they do. It's about taunting everyone with the idea that for them, there are absolutely no consequences. So, the indictment claims the killer's mask is, and I quote, an undeniable caricature of Jeffrey Epstein. But it doesn't stop there. It actually analyzes the plot of the upcoming sequel. It suggests that the story, where the killer dies but then comes back as this more powerful, non-physical entity, is really a metaphor. It's a message that says assets like Epstein aren't punished when they die. They get promoted to a whole new level of influence. So this brings us to the biggest question in all of this, right? If any of this is even remotely true, why on earth would they show us? Why broadcast these secrets to the entire world? And the indictment proposes that this isn't just about arrogance. It argues there's a cold, calculated strategy behind this so-called Archonic Confessional. The document breaks it down into three key strategic functions, and this slide lays them out perfectly. First, inoculation. You expose people to the truth as fiction, so when the real thing comes out, everyone just dismisses it as a movie plot or a conspiracy theory. Second, karmic release. This bizarre idea that as they show you the plan and you willingly pay to watch it as entertainment, you've somehow subconsciously agreed to it and they're off the hook. And third, mockery. Just a pure, sadistic display of power, taunting the prisoners with the blueprints of their own prison. Ultimately, the source finishes with a call to action. It suggests we need to completely shift how we consume media. Stop being a passive consumer of entertainment and start being an active intelligence analyst, trying to intercept what they're really saying. And so the scientific indictment leaves us with one last, really provocative question. After seeing this theory, after considering this lens, what will you see the next time you go to the movies?